Hello and welcome to Star Citizen. My name is evenleasesc, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less Ship Review, right behind me is the AEGIS Vanguard Hoplite. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, welcome back to another review. Today, the Vanguard Hoplite. This ship is considered the dropship variant of the Vanguard series, which is totally cool. It actually outperforms the Valkyrie. If you're only dropping off troops, this might actually be the way to go, because it has amazing stats. I mean, I'm only going to mention this once right now, because that, or I'm going to mention it all video. This thing is just as good, if not better, than the Harbinger, but you're just missing torpedoes and size 3 missiles. So let's take a look at this ship. It is $240 if you were to buy it on the pledge store, or if you buy it in game, it is $9,327,150 AUEC. Now, this ship, with that price point, it's a pretty decent price point, especially for what it can do, outputs 3,697 DPS, and that's due to the 1 size 5 Deadbolt 5 ballistic cannon at the front, as well as the 4 size 2 BRVS ballistic repeaters. Now, you're asking yourself, well, that doesn't sound any different from the Harbinger, and that's good. Okay, I promise that'll be the last time I mention the Harbinger. Because it isn't. It really isn't. Right now, that is the same damage output, and it is phenomenal. Now, looking at the top of the ship, you also have a manned turret with 900 DPS because it's outfitted with 2 size 2 Sawbuck ballistic repeaters. So, already stock, this thing is just outputting so much damage, and that is phenomenal. Got to love that. Its forward-facing firepower is just something you do not want to get in front of. Now, what about if you're getting shot at? Okay. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Before we talk about getting shot at, let's talk about missiles. This thing does have 4 size 2 Ignite 2 missiles and 4 size 2 Dominator 2 missiles. So, you don't have as many missiles as some other variants, but that's not too big of a deal. This ship is still fantastic, and it's meant to go into a combat zone and drop off heavily armored troops and let them do their work while you're kind of flying around clearing the airspace. So, with that, this ship does have 12,000 shield, and that's fantastic. It's actually a really great amount of shield. It's the same as the Valkyrie. And it's funny, this ship has more health than the Valkyrie, too. This ship sits at 75,640 ship HP. Now, it's a drop ship, but it's not a dedicated drop ship. You know what I mean? The Valkyrie is a dedicated drop ship, and yet that thing is in a worse off position. So, if you are truly considering, you have an org, you have a bunch of friends, this is a fantastic option, because not only do you have a lot of firepower as the pilot, you're able to actually transport, 5 of your buddies with plenty of weapons and ammo to take care of any situation on the ground, which is fantastic. Speaking of that internal storage, you have 1.85 SCU of internal storage. Now, let's talk about the ship's speed. How are we looking there? It is a little bit slower. It sits at 209 SCM as a top speed, and then a 435 forward boost, a 246 backwards boost, with a top nav speed of 1,115. So it's definitely not like ultra slow, but it's not really fast either. It's kind of right in the middle, and that's not bad. It's not terrible at all, especially since it is still a heavy fighter. It's still got that deep space fighter platform. It's got a very big amount of heavy equipment on it. Like that size 5 gun on the front alone is massive. Now, you also have 2,500 quantum fuel, which, I will say right now, you have a ton of quantum fuel, and I wish they would kind of cut that in half with this variant. It sounds weird being a dropship and all, but it doesn't have the sustainability as certain other variants do when it comes to, letting your crew actually be out for long periods of time. And let's go ahead and enter the rear of the ship and show you why. Now, as I'm entering the rear of the ship, not too much changes in the first entryway. When you close this ramp behind you, you do have the quantum drive as well as other component accesses here in the back, which is pretty nice. But then once you get in here to where you can see this a little bit dirty, sorry, there is no living quarters. This thing is solely a dropship module here in the back, and that's it. You have 6 jump seats. I don't know why I thought there was 5, but there's 6 jump seats back here, and then there's 10 weapon racks here, as well as 2 heavy racks over here. Plenty of space for any sort of ammo or, you know, equipment that you need to store. This thing's got quite a bit of room for everything you need to drop in a team, which is just fantastic. You gotta love that. But the deep space part of it is kind of out the window because there's no beds, there's no kitchen, there's none of that. It's not even over here, it's just gone. So deep space, I don't think so. It keeps that kind of platform because it is somewhat modular back here, supposedly. We'll see how that goes. But it also it lost all that living interior. So with that, I do think if they cut that quantum fuel in half, maybe you'd get a little bit more maneuverability out of this thing instead of sitting here, you know, with not the greatest maneuverability because she's really heavy. Now, looking past that room, if you were to open up this bottom here, you can have another area that you can, for right now, you know, hide something. There's probably going to be some sort of radar or something there once that's in, or maybe life support. Over here, you got your power plant and shield generator, another shield generator and power plant, and more access to other modules like your cooling and another cooling. I mean, it's really well equipped for the future of engineering and having all these modules be available for repair and all that. And it's right behind the pilot seat, so you don't have to go far. So, speaking of the pilot seat, let's go ahead and get in there and try out some combat. Now, before we get to our target here in just a moment, I want to let you know that the EM rating on this ship is definitely a lot lower than the other variants, so that's a positive note. Let's go ahead and get into this battle really quick, and I'll give you my score. So as you can see, that was just a really quick battle against NPC bounties, and this ship had zero issue wiping them out within about 30 seconds. Both ships. I know they were very light ships, but it was still easy to take them out. If you're going against a competent pilot and they were kind of maneuvering around you, it'd be harder to keep up with them if they're in a more agile ship, because this thing does have a pretty bad turn radius. Its maneuverability for its size is still pretty great, but it's not like the best. It's a heavy fighter, it's not a light fighter. So make sure you kind of remember that before you go against something like a Gladius or an F7, any of those type of ships. They're probably going to outpace you a bit. Otherwise, this ship to me is a 7.5 out of 10. It's great for being a drop ship, but they took a deep space fighter and kind of took out the deep space, in my opinion, when you remove the ability for the crew of this ship to maintain themselves while they're out in deep space. There's no beds, there's no bathrooms, there's no food supply, anything like that. Sure, you could get yourself a nice little storage box and put some food in there, but realistically, that's just not what they're looking for. So otherwise, it's a fantastic ship. It outputs amazing damage. It does great work, and I feel like if you have friends, this is a ship to get if you're transporting them out of, around a lot. Coming stock, this thing is just fantastic. So let me know what you think of the Vanguard Hoplite down in the comments below. Is this a ship that you prefer over the Harbinger or the Sentinel? Or is there just a completely different ship in general that you prefer for your combat needs? Thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.